Hey, what's up, good people? This is my buddy Dwayne. Dwayne is getting a mid-drop fade. If you're noticing a theme, it's because there is one. This is the most common haircut I do. I do a decent amount of tapers. Every now and then I got an all even, but and there's a few people that I do like a high fade on, and I got a handful of low fades, but everybody and their mama get a mid-drop fade. Dwayne likes his bald, so I put that initial guideline in. There are several ways to do your initial guideline. You can, if you're, especially if you're going bald, you can close your trim or your clippers all the way and go in and create that initial guideline, or you can open them up halfway, turn them upside down, like you've seen in some of my other videos. But to get the job done, there's multiple ways to skin a cat. I'm not going to harp too much on the process because I've got several videos showing the process, so you can watch as I talk. The other day, I made a video about discipline, and I want to touch on that again because I have new thoughts. But one of the things that I want to laser focus on, when you work for yourself, you have to work harder for yourself than you would somebody else. So if you work for Amazon or Best Buy or whatever company, if they're going to require you to be to work on time, if they're going to require you to work while at work, if they're only going to give you a 15-minute smoke break and a hour long lunch break or whatever, if they're going to require that you work 5 days a week, if they're going, whatever those standards are, at minimum, you got to do that for yourself. There's no possible way you can be successful if you don't work for yourself harder than you would work for somebody. And what's mind blowing is the mentality that people have. People that keep a job making $12 or even $15 an hour are willing to work harder for that because those are the requirements to keep that job than they would themselves. As soon as they work for themselves, they stop coming in on a regular basis. They start taking longer breaks. They start, spending more of their time on the phone than they are trying to generate business for themselves. So if you're going to be in business for yourself, work harder for yourself than you would someone else because you have an opportunity to make whatever money you want. And I don't understand why more people don't do that. So when you decide to be a barber or a cosmetologist, if you don't have the discipline to work for yourself, then I beg you, go to Sam's Club. I'm sorry, Fantastic. Go to Fantastic Sam's. Go to Sport Clips. Go to Great Clips. Go to those places where you will still be an employee. You will still have those guidelines. You'll still have that rigid structure. You'll still have those, requirements. They'll tell you when you can break. They'll tell you when to come and go. But those situations are not going to make you a lot of money because at most you're going to make $12 an hour. Now you're going to get tips and that's cool, but you need discipline to work for yourself. You have to be disciplined. You have to be regimented. You have to stick to a schedule. You have to treat it like a job because you still work. Whether you work for someone else or you work for yourself, you are still working. So act like that. Be a professional. Make your money. Be about your business. And I'll tell you what, I'm at a point and I've been cutting hair for a long, long time, but I've only been a professional barber for 3 years. And in a very short time, and I'll be honest, in less than a year, I put myself in a position to do what I want, when I want, how I want to do it, both personally and professionally. Meaning, I've worked my ass off the entire 3 years that I've been a barber. But I worked my butt off the first year to a point where within that year, I could have changed my schedule up and said, you know what, I'm only working 3 days a week. I'm only working, I could have done whatever I wanted with my schedule. I could have come and gone as I please. Now that would not have manifested into the success that I am today, but it did allow me at a very quick point in the game, I think faster than other barbers because I was disciplined. I always treated it like a job. I was always at work. In the beginning, I took 2 days off, partly because I had a long commute to the shop. I had other things I was trying to do. Now that I own a shop, I'm there all day, every day. I love it. I don't feel like I have to be there. I do it because I love it. And in turn, it has made me more busy. On an average week, I see 85 people, if I'm not mistaken. On a good week, on a busy week, I see 120. On a slow week, I see 70. So, I mean, the money is there, but the only way you make the money is if you were consistent, if you were professional, if you treat it like a job. But just think of it like this. If you had a company and you were paying somebody, say $20 an hour, and they moved in a way where they showed up when they felt like it. They spent 2 hours on their car on a phone, smoking weed, walking up and down a strip mall, not doing anything to promote the business. Would you hire? Would you keep them on staff, or would you move around? Would you ask them to go on and work for somebody else? If you wouldn't even pay yourself that money to work for yourself, I'm sorry, if you wouldn't pay anybody to work for you like that, why would you work for yourself in that manner? So I beg of you, get your mind right. This industry has so much to offer. It is a fact that like $2.5 billion a year circulates through the beauty industry. $2.5 billion a year. I remember when I was 13, my dad asked me what I wanted to do. He's a cop. He wanted me to be a cop. I told him I want to be a barber. He asked me, well, what would I do once people stop wearing short haircuts? And I didn't know what to say because I was 13 and I didn't know anything about the world. But one thing I do know, after living through a pandemic, the one thing people are still going to do, they are still going to get their hair cut. Women are still going to want to get their hair done, their nails done, their feet done. Men are still going to want to keep a fresh fade and their beard cleaned up. So whether they grow dreads out, they still need that edged up, they still need it lined up, they still want the sides tapered. This industry is recession proof. I can tell you firsthand because I thrived. When I tell you thrived in a pandemic, but the only way it's recession proof is if you have a good work ethic, you work hard, you're disciplined, and you give yourself a fighting chance to grow your business every day. And what I mean by that is you talk to your client. If you notice, Dwayne's, mouth is moving the whole time because we've developed a friendship. We've developed a rapport. Dwayne doesn't just see me in a bar as a barber. When Dwayne comes in, he's got a whole bunch of stuff to tell me. And that's what motivates Dwayne to come to my shop, even when it's not convenient for him. Dwayne moves around the city of Houston, and some of you may know Houston is huge. And so Dwayne has he has equity in our relationship to continuously come back to me because we've developed a friendship. And I'm telling you, that is the key to success. It's not how good you are at your job, although that helps, that is important. But I'm telling you, when people like you, they do more things with you and for you. I learned a statistic when I was in high school, and they talked about how the more popular you are, the more successful you will be. And it doesn't mean that you don't have to have any skill. Although I would argue that being popular is a skill. That means you have people skills to a degree, or you got some that people want and exploit that to the fullest. But what I took from that statistic was, if you are a likable person and you go into an interview, you have a better chance of getting the job over someone more qualified and less likable. If you are likable and someone sits in your chair, they're going to have a nicer time with you. They're going to have a better conversation. They're going to feel, like y'all have more things in common. They're going to want your energy. So if you're the type of barber and stylist that, ask the client what they want, put your headphones in, and or talks to everybody else in the shop, that client is not going to feel like they've developed any equity in you, and you're going to be extremely replaceable no matter how good of a job you do. Because a lot of barbers and stylists still can do as good a job as you. So if you're not bringing anything to the table outside of that haircut, they're just going to go get a haircut from anywhere. When people come to my establishment and sit in my chair, they get an experience. And that is the difference between making six figures in this industry and barely making it. So if you don't have the ability to bring other things to the table aside from your skill set, I have news for you. A fade is a fade is a fade. There I've seen tweets and posts about barbers and stylers thinking they built different. A fade is a fade is a fade. I mean, it to me, like, I'm a sports guy, so I always think of things in analogy. There is only 3 pointers in basketball, 2 pointers, and 1 pointers. 1 pointers are free throws, 2 pointers are anything inside the arc, 3 pointers anything outside the arc. If you hit a shot from half court, it's still worth 3 points, just like if you hit it right at the 3 point line. If you do a 360 windmill dunk with a somersault, a backflip, and you take your shirt off in midair, it's still worth 2 points. And that's how I feel about fades. As long as you do the damn fade, your fade and my fade ain't no different. As good as I think I am at my job, my fade is just as good as any other barbers out there. There is not a single barber that fades better than me. There are very few barbers that don't do a good enough job. Well, there's a lot of barbers that don't. I'll say this: the difference between the best barber and a decent barber, the margin is very minimal. And you got so many men and women putting makeup on people, their pictures turn out better because of, CGI, Photoshop, and makeup. But when you're talking about the actual job, if you can do a damn fade, you can do a damn fade. It's that simple. Now it comes timing is a factor, but doing the actual job, it ain't nothing else. You can't earn style points in the fade itself, but how you earn those style points is by talking to your client, by being punctual, by being reliable, by being available when they need you. A lot of times barbers come into the game, like my shop is 7 days a week. I got barbers that come to my shop fresh out of school, and they take Sundays and Mondays off. Big dog, that's a terrible idea. Most shops are closed Sunday and Monday, so we are busy Sundays and Mondays. So the idea that you come into the shop and you're going to take days off, at least take the days off that aren't busy. But a lot of times a barber will come to the shop, they'll have their off days and realize that when they tell their the people that they've just established a relationship with, hey, I only work these days, so be sure to come these days when I'm here. A lot of times people want what they want when they want it. So you can tell them, yeah, man, I take Tuesdays and Wednesdays off, but they forget that, or they don't care, and they show up and they look for whoever's available. And if you missed them, you just missed them. And then you've given another barber, either in that establishment or in some other establishment, an opportunity to earn their business for a lifetime. So I'm not encouraging anybody to work like I work. I work every day. I worked on my birthday. I worked on Christmas. I worked on Easter. I work Thanksgiving. I don't take days off because I love my job. I live right across the street from my shop. I have very few excuses to not be at work. But so I don't encourage people to work like I do. But if you want to be as successful as I am, it takes some sacrifice. I'll say that. I encourage you, though, if you're going to work a schedule, stick to that schedule. A lot of people already have a bad taste in their mouth from previous experiences with other barbers and stylists. So I encourage you, be consistent at the very least. If you're gonna take 2 days off a week, or even three, or whatever that schedule is, make sure you stick to that. That's the quickest way. One of the quicker ways to lose potential clients is when they don't know when to rely on you. I hear all the complaints. I'm telling you, people don't like that. Now, the other thing I wanted to get to on these videos is a lot of barbers and stylists understand early when they get to school that the school is exploiting you. They are making money off you when you pay tuition. And then when you get into the program, they send, people that are looking for $3 and $5 haircuts, and they are making you do that work while they make that money off of your labor. So I understand why a lot of people are like, man, I ain't cutting no damn hair in barber school. I ain't cutting no hair in stylist school. I ain't doing all that. They already got my tuition. But that is a kamikaze attitude. That is self-destruction. I have been cutting since 93. I have been cutting hair since 93. To this day, there are people that come in my shop with a circumstance that I haven't seen before or I haven't seen in a while. And because I have the building blocks of, because I have a solid foundation, I can get through any cut in a very short amount of time. But when you are a new barber and you have just learned and picked up the trade, months or even a couple years ago, you couldn't have possibly seen all of the circumstances that there are in the world. And it's important when you are in barber school or Cosmo school to take as many opportunities to do as many things as possible, because when you get out in the streets and you are in a shop or an establishment, a salon, the difference between taking a new client or letting them go to somebody else, that I mean that's a I look at a client as $1,000 a year. Every person that walks through the door is potentially around $1,000 a year. So if you refuse to take a client because you can't you didn't take an opportunity in barber or cosmetology school to practice that in school and get familiar with that in school, you've blown $1,000. First of all. Second of all, if you do take that client and you mess their hair up, you've blown $1,000 a year. So no matter how you look at it, you either practice and get good at doing as many things as possible so that you have as much success as you can while you're in school, or you squander that opportunity. You sit there, moat, pout, and just don't do nothing. And you get your license and they kick you out of school and you go into a shop or a salon and you end up fizzling out because nobody wants to give you any more opportunities because they done seen you mess their friends up. They done seen you mess their husbands and their kids and their nieces and nephews up. And you're you've already started your demise. So I encourage you, when you were in barber cosmetology school, take as many opportunities to practice as possible. Now, if you're the type of person that says, well, I ain't gonna be cutting no straight hair clients, so I ain't gonna be taking no straight hair clients in school because the shop I'm going to, it's only gonna be coarse hair. Big dog. Things change all the time. They gentrify neighborhoods, reverse gentrify neighborhoods. There, you or your significant other has to move. You will not. You're not always going to be able to predict or to control who walks through the door. Sometimes the neighborhood changes and you don't have you never see it coming. Sometimes your life circumstances allow you to make different moves. And if you are only able to cut one type of hair, then you're only going to be able to work in one type of shop. So while you were in barber or Cosmo school, take every opportunity to work with something different that you can, because you can't control who comes through the door. You cannot. I mean, you can make your shop lean toward one type of demographic, but at the end of the day, sometimes people miss those cues. Sometimes people just say, "Oh no, this what I want, so I'm coming here because it's closer, it's convenient, or whatever." And the last thing again you want to do is let money walk out the door, because at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. We're here to make money. We're here to be successful. We're here to take care of our families and take vacations and do all those things that a comfortable income can afford you to do. So the more people you turn away, the less money you're going to make. So take every opportunity you can in the Cosmo, in the barber program, to work with as many different types of clients, because I'm telling you, you think you've seen it all, you haven't seen it all. I've been cutting for 30 years. I haven't seen it all. I still I'd say every month I run into somebody that I'm like, damn, this is an unusual circumstance. It's just you think you've seen it all. There are 9 billion people walking the planet. You ain't seen it all. So keep that in mind. Take every opportunity you can to grow. But the other thing about taking opportunity to grow is speed. These people got shit to do. They got jobs, they got lives, they got wives, they got friends, they got hobbies. They don't want to spend 2 hours in your chair, especially when other barbers can do the same cut in 20 or 30 minutes. I'm one of them. This haircut with Dwayne takes about 25 minutes, mostly because we're just bullshitting. We're talking, and I'm taking pauses because I'm talking, and you know what I'm saying. I'm in no rush. He's in no rush. We're just catching up and shooting the breeze. But I can do a haircut in 15 minutes. I can almost do I could almost get every one of my clients in and out of my chair in 15 minutes. And so if a client has the alternative to get a fucking fantastic cut and a cool little quick conversation out of me in 15 to 20 minutes, or sit in your chair and spend 4 hours for a taper and barely say a word, I think they would choose the latter. So keep in mind that there are other more experienced barbers and stylists that are already in the game that you were competing with once you get out of school. And I'm telling you, the last thing a client wants to hear is that, oh, I'm fresh out of school. Trust me, that makes butt cheeks clench up real tight when they are faced with the prospect of sitting in someone's chair that is fresh out of school, especially when they got a job interview, when they got a date, when they got a wedding, when they got a, picture day. They don't want to sit in nobody's chair that ain't got no experience or that has minimal experience. So you already are dealing with an uphill battle by virtue of being new to the industry. So make sure that you have that confidence that you've gained by knowing that you did everything you could in school to make yourself the professional that you want to be. But the thing you have to do is work on your speed. And the way that speed comes is by getting more experience, by cutting more hair, by seeing more things, by getting more opportunities to work with more diverse people from diverse backgrounds. Because the difference between making $200 in a day to $400 in a day is literally all about time. If you spend an hour and a half on a cut, you're only going to be able to see 4 or 5 people in a day. But if you can only take 30 minutes, 45 minutes, now you're looking at, you have the opportunity to see 8 to 10 people in a day. And sometimes there are some days where walk-ins come in bunches. There are some days where walk-ins only come in, at, one or two in the entire day. So you need to be able to capitalize on those opportunities whenever it's a busy day, to be able to get through clients as fast as possible without rushing and without making your client feel rushed, and while still doing a good job. Again, this cut only took me 25 minutes. I actually think it's like 23, but again, we chit chatted, talked, and BS'd and whatnot. But when you get when you get into a shop, and if you're lucky enough to get into a shop where there's a lot of foot traffic, speed is paramount, because again, the difference between a $200 day and a $400 day is literally timing. So work on timing while you are in school. Work on your speed. Also, too, work on the conversation. Some people cannot, you know, talk and chew bubble gum and walk at the same time. So make sure that while you were in school, you are doing everything you can to practice multitasking, practice holding the conversation with your client while cutting their hair. Try to get it down to 45 minutes or less. Ideally, it'd be 30 minutes, because again, people appreciate timeliness. And it makes the time go by faster for both you and the client when you guys are having a conversation. So make sure that you are doing what you can to work on being the total package. A lot of people treat barbershops and salons like a therapy session. And if you don't have any game at all, you're going to have less people wanting to sit in your chair. It only takes one bad experience for a client, especially the first one, for them to be like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm good. I'll work with somebody else." So do everything you can to make your business irresistible to prospective clients. Also, too, make sure you're taking pictures. Take as many pictures as you can, good, bad, or ugly. The average person isn't as critical or judgy as other barbers are. So stop worrying about what other barbers think about your work. They ain't sitting in your chair no way. They probably cut their own hair, or they probably got a partner that they, let cut their hair from barber school. So don't even trip on that. Make sure you put enough work on online, and so that prospective clients can look at your work and say, okay, you are at least a barber. You know what I'm saying? They may not catch some of the, uneven edge ups, or inconsistent fade lines. They may not catch that. They just want to see that you got that you're working. And what you can do is, as you get better, start to replace your bad pictures with great pictures. But this video is coming to an end. I do appreciate y'all listening to me gab and blab for a little minute. Please like, subscribe, share, follow, all those things. Again, take my advice to heart. I'm not just talking mess. I know these things work because I've worked these things myself. I have a lot of examples of how people didn't take advantage of opportunities in school, how they don't have discipline, and how they're not successful. So take it from me. I know what I'm talking about. I want nothing